When Russia invaded Ukraine, the world expected Kyiv to fall in days. Now, 3.5 years later, it's Moscow that's running out of time. In February 2022, Vladimir Putin launched his special military operation, expecting a quick, glorious victory. He thought the Ukrainian army would surrender, the government would collapse, and Russian flags would fly over Kyiv before the West could react. It was supposed to be a lightning war, fast, decisive, and brutal. Instead, it became the war that might destroy Russia itself. Ukraine not only survived, it's now positioned to do the impossible, take back every inch of its land. And Russia, desperate and bleeding, is burning itself to ashes trying to stop it. From the outside, Ukraine's success looks miraculous. But it's not a miracle. It's math, strategy, and grit. Russia is running out of soldiers, tanks, money, and even time. Ukraine, meanwhile, grows stronger with every passing month. Its army is smarter, faster, and fueled by a determination that no dictator can match. The same war that was supposed to crush Ukraine has instead forged it into one of the most innovative and battle-hardened militaries on Earth. Russia entered this war with one advantage: size. It had more tanks, more planes, and more missiles, but quantity doesn't last forever when you keep losing. According to open-source intelligence, Russia has already lost more than 23,000 pieces of military equipment compared to Ukraine's 9,900. Over 10,000 armored vehicles have been destroyed, and the rest are being cannibalized for spare parts. Most of what Russia loses can't be replaced, because half of it came from Soviet-era stockpiles, reserves built for a Cold War that never came. Those stockpiles are almost gone. Russia started this war with around 12,000 tanks in reserve. Now, it's scraping the bottom of the barrel. New tank production can't keep up. Russia can only build about 250 modern tanks a year. It's far less than the number it loses. To fill the gap, they've begun rolling out old, rusting T-62s and even T-34s from World War II museums. Soldiers joke that some of their armor belongs in a parade, not on a battlefield. But the joke is on them, because it's true. While Russia's army crumbles, Ukraine's evolves. Its generals have turned the war into a laboratory of modern combat. Under leaders like General Mikhailo Drapati, Ukraine has refined a new kind of warfare: fast, precise, and deadly. They've built layers of defense, rotated battle-hardened units, and used drones to see and strike everything that moves. In early 2025, Russian gains collapsed almost overnight. They went from capturing hundreds of square miles a month to barely 50. To win a single square kilometer, Russian forces now need 5 times as many assaults as they did 6 months earlier. It's a war of attrition, and Ukraine is winning by simply making Russia fight harder for less. By late 2025, the tide had fully turned. In battles like Dobropilya, Ukraine launched synchronized drone swarms and ground strikes that shredded Russian lines. More than 1,000 Russian soldiers were killed in days, hundreds more captured, and Ukrainian forces retook dozens of towns. Every time Russia advanced, it lost more than it gained. Every attack made Ukraine sharper. The difference between the two armies comes down to something bigger than numbers: innovation. Ukraine has transformed its defense industry from nearly nothing in 2022 into a $35 billion powerhouse by 2025. At the start of the war, it produced just 1% of its own weapons. Now, it makes 1/3 of everything it uses, and almost all of its drones. Drones have become Ukraine's secret weapon. A few $1,000s worth of equipment can destroy a multi-million-dollar Russian tank. Naval drones have driven Russia's Black Sea Fleet out of Crimea, freeing up shipping lanes and reviving Ukraine's grain exports to pre-war levels. These machines, built in garages and small workshops across the country, have changed the very shape of modern warfare. And then there's Operation Spiderweb, Ukraine's long-range drone campaign that reached deep into Russian territory, over 2,700 miles. It destroyed oil refineries, airfields, and even 1/3 of Russia's strategic bomber fleet. The message was clear: there's no safe distance anymore. But it's not just the battlefield that's turning against Russia. The economy behind its war machine is collapsing. In 2025, nearly 40% of Russia's federal budget went to the military, a level unseen since the Soviet era. Yet its oil and gas revenues, once the lifeblood of the government, have fallen by 35% year over year. Sanctions and Ukraine's drone strikes have crippled the energy sector, wiping out 17% of refining capacity. The European Union now caps Russian oil prices, forcing Moscow to sell its crude at $48 a barrel, down from $70 just a year earlier. China and India buy at even steeper discounts, taking advantage of Russia's desperation. Every barrel sold brings in less money, while every shell fired costs more to make. Inflation officially sits around 10%, but in reality it's likely double that. The central bank is running out of reserves. By early 2026, Russia could be broke, fighting a modern war on the budget of a failing state. The human cost is even worse. Russia has lost over 1 million soldiers since the invasion began. In 2025 alone, 280,000 were killed, wounded, or captured. Daily casualties have more than doubled since the first year of the war. To fill the ranks, Moscow has emptied its prisons and begged North Korea for fighters. Even so, recruitment has dropped by 60%. The army is running out of men faster than it can replace them, and the damage doesn't stop on the battlefield. Russia's working-age population is collapsing. Millions of young men have died or fled the country. Factories are short on engineers. Farms lack laborers. The war is eating the future of an entire generation. Putin has built a system that can only survive through war, and that war is now killing the system itself. Meanwhile, Ukraine's strategy is patient and precise. It's not rushing to launch massive offensives. It doesn't need to. Every tank Russia loses, every fuel depot destroyed, every refinery that burns, these are victories in slow motion. Ukraine is letting Russia destroy itself from within. When the time comes, Ukraine will strike hard and fast. That breaking point is likely to come before or during 2026. Western intelligence already predicts Russia will run out of usable equipment by then. Once its armor, artillery, and air defense crumble, Ukraine can unleash its rebuilt forces, backed by Western support, homegrown weapons, and unmatched morale, to reclaim occupied land. When that happens, even Crimea won't be safe. The Black Sea Fleet has already fled from Sevastopol. The Kerch Bridge remains a target, hanging by a thread. Once Ukraine cuts off Russia's southern corridor, Crimea will be isolated and surrounded, and Putin's empire will be cornered. Every month, the war continues to expose Russia's weakness. Its weapons fail, its economy bleeds, and its soldiers die for nothing. What began as Putin's grand vision to restore Russia's greatness has become a slow-motion collapse that might take the country with it. Ukraine, on the other hand, has become stronger than ever, not just in arms, but in spirit. Its people have turned tragedy into determination, loss into unity, and resistance into victory. They've built a future in the fire of invasion, a future where freedom outlasts fear. So when Ukraine finally takes back every inch of its land, history won't remember it as a miracle. It will remember it as proof that courage, innovation, and persistence can defeat even the largest empire, especially when that empire is too arrogant to realize it's already burning.